My name is Grace Staberg and I am 19 years old. I grew up in Denver. I lived there until my freshman year of high school, and then we moved to Summit County right before I started at Summit High. It was amazing. We had a cabin up here, so we had been coming for ski team every weekend my whole childhood, and we had always wanted to move up here, but with my parents' jobs, it took a while to finally bite the bullet. So when we did move up here, I think everyone in my family was very happy about it. I went to Summit High School when we first moved. I played soccer my first 2 years at Summit High, and then when I was a junior and a senior, I ran cross country and track. I would say I am most well known as a skimo athlete. I compete on the World Cup circuit in the winter, so at least in Summit, where there's not a ton of news to report on, I am fairly well known for that. 3 weeks ago now, I guess, I set the North American women's record for most vertical feet climbed in 24 hours. So it was just over 56,000 feet, and I did that over at Copper Mountain. I think the first time I was exposed to vaping was probably sophomore year. I think the first time actually was probably before this memory, but the earliest memory I have of it is they had installed new bathrooms at Summit, and they didn't put doors on any of the bathrooms. Like, there were stall doors, but there were no doors to the actual bathrooms because teachers wanted to be able to smell the vape pens, because I remember the mango flavor was really popular, and so the hallways all day would smell like mango. And I was so naive that I don't even know what I thought. I think I thought it was like people eating fruit or something. And a friend had said to me, like, no, that's why they don't have the doors on the bathroom, because people are going in there and vaping during class. So I think that's my earliest recollection, at least. But obviously it was going on before then, and I just didn't really know. Friends had offered me their vape pens, I would say maybe for like 3 weeks, but just because of sports, I felt like I always had kind of a platform to stand up on and be like, because of sports, I'm not going to be participating. And so then after a few weeks of saying that, friends kind of laid off, and I think they got the message, but originally for sure. I think that, growing up as an athlete, it was really ingrained in me that like any kinds of drugs or alcohol, even when they're legal, or like with drinking, even if you're an adult, aren't really good for performance. And so I think that really kind of helped me personally to stay away. Personally, I had a lot of friends who would say like, oh, but I would never smoke a cigarette, and they had no qualms about vaping. So I think just because of how it's perceived, it's maybe a little bit more dangerous, at least in our community. I would say my personal opinion is probably that it's more dangerous. I think that the health effects have been shown to be just as harmful, and I think that it's really easy for kids especially to have a perception that vaping is a lot healthier and that it's not nearly as bad. I think at current time, vaping plays a slightly smaller role in my life just because I have graduated high school, and it definitely was more prevalent then. But at the same time, I would say maybe the role has just shifted a little bit. When I was in high school, I think it was really there in my day-to-day life with my friends and my teammates, whereas now I think it's more clear to me just because I have a younger sister. She's 5 years younger than me, and she's just going into high school next year. So I think even though its role in my personal life has maybe decreased, I still am really passionate about it just because I would like her to grow up knowing that it's not healthy and have good role models who inspire her, or at least encourage her to know that it's okay to say no. The main involvement I've had with the anti-vaping efforts in Summit was speaking to the town council when they were trying to introduce the tax. I guess that was 2 years ago now. I had friends who were involved in YES, which was the Youth Empowerment Society of Summit, and they had encouraged me to join and go to town council meetings with them. So that was my main involvement. I am not currently aware of any services, at least in Summit, that would help youth who have begun vaping stop. If there were services, I would definitely encourage people to use them. I remember having lots of conversations with teammates who didn't vape about how we could help our help our friends. And I think a lot of times we felt like we were at a loss because we didn't really know where to send them or who to refer them to get help, even if they wanted to. Definitely, I had a lot of friends and teammates who were athletes who had negative effects on both their performance and their life because of vaping. I think among athletes it is a really big issue in Summit because of, like I was mentioning earlier, the perception that it's less dangerous or that it won't have the same effects on your performance. So I knew a lot of kids who their performance really suffered because of vaping, and then their mental health suffered as well. And I had a few friends who ended up stopping their sports altogether, in large part because of vaping. Yeah, seeing them drop out or not be able to compete anymore was definitely really discouraging, especially because I think a lot of them wanted to stop, but they had gotten to the point where they couldn't really stop on their own. I think it was really discouraging, and it definitely made me feel more passionate about it, and just really encouraged me to do whatever I could to stop it from happening to others. I definitely do not think I could have broken the North American record if I had been vaping. Even without having vaped, I had a hard time, and seeing how my friends suffered when they were vaping, I think there would have been no chance whatsoever. I had one friend who had been vaping. He was an athlete, and he had been saying for a really long time that he wanted to stop, but he was really struggling. He actually ended up going to rehab for a separate drug problem, and he stopped vaping as well when he was there. I definitely noticed a big difference in him after he had stopped vaping. He had stopped skiing, and then he started skiing again when he came back from rehab. And just his mood was way better. He was doing way better in school. We had been really concerned about him in our friend group and in our team, and when he came back he was doing much better, and there was not nearly as much need for concern. I would say we were a little bit closer after he quit vaping. I think it was hard to be close to him before because he, for a while, wasn't all that willing to take any steps to stop, even though he knew that it was negatively impacting him. So yes, there was definitely a notable difference. I think if I saw somebody offering another kid their first vape, I would probably tell them to think about the effects it could have on their life and think about if it was really something they wanted to do, because it could be really hard to stop once they started and once they did it the first time. Don't vape, kids. I mean,